Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated, coming to you live from Lagos. I'm Chimize Obiwagu. Coming up on the program, Cameroon accepts an economic partnership agreement with the European Union on the dismantling of customs barriers. UK discount chain Poundland agrees to an improved takeover offer from South African retail group Steinhoff. Plus, IEA cuts oil demand forecast as economic uncertainty weighs. Well, we'll begin with the story that South Africa has regained its position as Africa's largest economy in US dollar terms more than 2 years after losing it to Nigeria. Now, a Bloomberg News report explains that based on the 2015 gross domestic product published by the International Monetary Fund, the size of South Africa's economy is $301 billion at the rand's current exchange rate of 13.28 to the greenback. Now, Nigeria now returns to the second position at a GDP figure of $296 billion. Now, let's bring in the CEO Time Economics, Dr. Oho Okiti, to comment on this. Good afternoon, Dr. Okiti.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me.
Right, now, how come South Africa is now overtaking Nigeria as the largest economy in Africa? Remember, Egypt had once been reported to have overtaken South Africa. Does it mean Nigeria is now in third place?
That's correct. That's correct. Earlier this year, which was just about 2 months ago, Egypt overtook South Africa into the second position, and Nigeria remained the largest economy at the time. But following the depreciation of the Naira, when the central bank actually removed the peg of Naira just about 2 months ago, so this is the latest statistics that we have about the size, about the comparison of African economy. So in the context of what has just happened, Nigeria is now the third largest economy in Africa. That's correct.
Now, you mentioned depreciation of the Naira, which of course is part of the reason given for this, and of course appreciation of the Rand. Now, does that mean that the introduction of a flexible foreign exchange regime policy is doing this country more harm than good?
Oh, no, not at all. Not at all. International gross domestic products are compared in relation to the US dollar. So that has always been the case. And that is why we are where we are now in terms of the ranking. But this is not a topic to look at the merits and demerits of the floating of the Naira. What I think we should be concerned about is what are the things that have led to this. And we are all familiar with the dynamics of the Nigerian economy in the last 2 years, which led to the floating of the Naira and also the depreciation of the Naira. So those are the things that we should be careful about. And the second thing to also mention is that these are short-time dynamics of economy. The size of an economy within a short period of time is determined by the exchange rate movement. So in the case of South Africa, it has strengthened by about 15 to 17% since the start of this year, and it has gained about 15%. And in the case of Nigeria, about a third. It has fallen by a third in the last 2 months. And that is why Nigeria is now where we are in terms of the ranking of economy. But these are short time. The important thing is what are the measures that we need to put in place so that Nigeria can regain the status as the largest economy in Africa in the few years to come.
All right, I'm sure it's a conversation we would have to continue. Thank you very much, Dr. Oho, for that insight there. Our Cameroon has accepted an economic partnership agreement with the European Union on the dismantling of customs barriers, even though it told members of a regional bloc it would hold out for a better deal. Cameroon's decisions to accept an economic partnership agreement with the European Union puts it at a loggerheads with the 5 other members of Central African Economic and Monetary Community, CEMAC, which are Central African Republic, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, and Gabon. A week ago, CEMAC leaders met in Malabo, capital of Equatorial Guinea, and the consensus was that they would only sign an agreement that was fair and balanced. But on August 4, Cameroon reneged on the deal and ratified its existing draft. Well, it's now time for us to cross over to Frankfurt to know the developments there. Ulrich Bartz, DWTV Channels TV financial correspondent, joins me now. Good afternoon, Ulrich. Well, in the U.S., Democratic presidential candidate Hillary Clinton will be presenting her economic program in details. That's later today. What we already know is that she will be proposing a massive infrastructure spending program. What is she planning, and how is that being commented on in the market?
Well, so far we know that she's planning a $275 billion investment program for infrastructure, roads and bridges, airports, more rail service, but also giving access to the internet to all Americans and access to a very competitive internet technology. And through an infrastructure bank, which is to be established, some of this money will be leveraged so that it will be actually causing more investment than the money that's being put in there. And so Clinton puts the total investment volume of her program, which she wants to implement within the first 100 days, and which will take 5 years to implement, at about $500 billion and she hopes to create about 13,000 new jobs for every $1 billion invested, in total over 10 million new jobs in the first in her first administration, if that is indeed implemented. It sounds very ambitious. It also sounds very expensive because, of course, up front, before you reap benefits from this, you have to invest. And so economists are all for infrastructure investment. The U.S. needs it. Things can improve with that, but they also fear that deficits might rise. So what Clinton will say later in detail tonight is also of great interest to people here in the market because of the weight of the U.S. economy and anything to do with the federal budget there, of course.
All right, Ulrich. Now let's look at what's happening in the oil market. Oil has remained a talking point for markets after prices fell today, and of course we have seen the IEA global oil forecast for 2017. How has this drop in oil prices affected the share prices of the oil and gas stocks in the market?
Yeah, it's affected it immediately, not one-to-one because the reaction is quite different depending on which company you look at. But when you look at the companies that are listed here in the Stocks Europe 50, that is the 50 largest industrial shares in Europe, in the total of Europe, you can see the effects. British Petroleum, BP, going down by about 0.5%. And Shell going down by 2.3%. It's the biggest loser here in the European market, and Total of France also going down by about 0.2%. And of course, it's possible that these share price losses increase as the oil price slides further. It looks to be on a downward path at the moment. I can give you a quote here. Oil is increasingly pulling back towards the US dollar, $40 a barrel level again, and many in the markets are concerned that the shorts may even be looking for prices to drop down towards the $35 level. That says Angus Nicholson, an oil strategist.
Oh, well, Ulrich, just a quick one. Which companies are making news in the market?
I think an interesting one is TUI. It's not that prominent in the German market anymore because it's listed in the FTSE 100, but it's the world's largest travel company. And the troubles in Turkey, the coup there, and the terrorist attacks that have occurred, they're affecting this travel company. TUI expects the number of its Turkey tourists that it handles to go down by 50%, and it also expects that to hit the operating profits and the turnover. So that was bad news in connection with a major political event of the past weeks.
All right, thank you very much for those updates, Ulrich Bartz, DWTV Channels TV financial correspondent, reporting there from Frankfurt Stock Exchange.